Hi, I'm Peter from Coffee Parts, and today we're looking at the Coffee Tech DF64. This is a great value, low retention, single dose coffee grinder. Let's jump in and have a look. The DF64. This is a single dose, low retention grinder that's become super popular online. In Australia and New Zealand, they're known by the brand Coffee Tech, but depending where you are in the world, the brand will change. This particular model runs the titanium coated stainless steel blades, and to Australia, they come out in two colors, the carbon white and the carbon black. In saying that, the colors are vinyl wrapped, so you could easily change those vinyls, and if you jump online, you will see them in a whole bunch of colors overseas. One thing that's different, the Australian version versus the overseas, is the Australian importers have added the two items here which are common mods overseas. One is your dial indicator and two is your riser. The dial indicator solves one of the common complaints, which is not being able to clearly see where you're at. The marker from factory is here and the top of the display shows you your numbers. Having that indicator just allows you to see better when you're dialing in. And that riser makes the whole work area a lot cleaner. With that riser, when you are using the supplied 58ml plastic clear dosing cup, it makes it a lot closer to the spout, so it reduces a lot of the mess. Without the riser, it is sitting a lot lower, so you will get a bit of mess on the counter. In saying that, you don't need to use a dosing cup. You could use a portafilter. Most 58ml portafilters will fit and they just slide in here between the two lugs. There is a silicone rubber on the bottom rug to help keep it in. One thing we would recommend though, if you are using a portafilter, is to use a dosing collar. In this case, we're using the wormhole, but it could be any dosing collar just to also bring in that gap, make it a little tighter, and once again, reduce the mess. When it comes to operating the grinder, it is super simple. It literally just has an on and off switch here. Turn it on and it runs. It also has an auto shut off. So once there's no beans detected in there, it will run for 45 seconds before shutting itself off, which is really cool in case you forgot it on, but realistically, I doubt you're gonna forget. When it comes to the bellows, this doesn't have a hopper per se, but it's got a bellows mechanism with a metal lid, and the lid actually does feel quite nice because it adds weight and really makes it a good feel to pressing down the bellows. Something simple, but it is cool. And that bellows holds 30 grams of coffee. This grinder does have a little bit of popcorning, so if you are starting the grinder up with beans in there, you would want to replace the bellows back in, otherwise beans will jump out. So let's grind out some coffee, see how the workflow works, and then we'll go through and see how to clean this grinder. So doing a coffee on the DF64, it really is a simple process. You want to get the clear dosing cup that comes with the grinder and bring it to 0 on a scale. Now you will need a scale to operate this machine correctly. We're going to run 20 grams, which is a very standard dose. And what we're going to do is load the coffee into the bellows, put in the dosing cup here on the riser. So we are using the riser, which helps bring it closer to the spout and create less mess. We're going to activate the grinder, and as it grinds through, towards the end, we're going to push through any remains through that bellows. Having that riser really does help keep the work area neat. And just checking the amount of coffee, and we've got 19.9, so I may have lost just a touch through or not pushed out that remaining little bit. And we have 20 grams. Loading it into the portafilter is super simple. Just transfer it across and bring it down. Having a clear dosing cup really does allow you to see this process and make sure there's nothing left in the dosing cup. And from there, you can go ahead and tamp. If you were to load in your portafilter directly, you'd repeat the same process without the riser. Once again, you'd load in 20 grams of coffee, or whichever amount you want. load in that coffee. With a portafilter, we're just gonna put it on the scale and bring it to 0 to see that we do get that 20 grams out. We're gonna use a dosing ring just to make the whole workflow a bit cleaner. It does make a tiny bit more mess with the portafilter than it did with the dosing cup. Just loading it in and 20 grams of coffee out. So you are really getting out what you put in. So the few things that really do help is having a scale, some kind of dosing ring if you are using a portafilter, or a riser if you're using a dosing cup. In Australia, they do come with a riser and a dial indicator as part of the unit, but overseas, it is worth getting these as extras because that really does help. Now, when it comes to cleaning, it's super easy. Basically, we want to turn off the grinder, remove the bellows. If you've got a dial indicator, remove the dial indicator and just move that around to coarse. So just bring the whole top of the unit out and have access to your blades, just to give them a wipe or even to remove the blades, which are held in by 3 screws. So cleaning the DF64 is super easy. Just make sure the power's off, remove the bellows. If you do have a dial indicator, just remove that too. And then you just have to bring it all the way back to coarse. So just bringing that back. And just as you remove it all the way to coarse, the collar comes out and then you have access to both blades. Using a brush, you can clean all the way around in this chamber. You can also use a vacuum if you have one, a small vacuum to vacuum everything out. If you did want to change the blades or just take them out for cleaning, it's just simply a matter of getting in with a screwdriver and removing the 3 screws. Once you remove the screws, the blades easily come out and you can either replace them if you wanted to try out some SSPs. With the SSPs, one thing to note though is they are slightly thicker. So it brings up the distance a small notch, which means that when you are looking at the grind adjustments on the collar, the 0 doesn't align anymore. Now, you can either just note that it's not aligned anymore, or you can just buy the sticker again and re-stick the markings on top if you are going to be running SSPs. Really is up to you. Once you have the 3 screws out, you can easily just pull out the blade and you can clean further or even replace the blades with things like the SSPs as mentioned earlier. Putting it back together is simple. It really is just a process of repeating what you did in reverse. One thing to note is there is different processes of lining up the blades when you do put them back together to get the alignment and the tension on each screw exactly the same. But that is a talk for a whole new different video. And we'll probably do a video on different blades, SSP, uniformity, what it means, lining up the blades, but it is a bit of a rabbit hole to dive into. Lining that back in, you simply bring in the collar, and now instead of going coarse, you're going fine. So you're going towards fine and just locking it back in. Being gentle at first just to grab that thread, and then once you've grabbed that thread, and bring it all the way back down to fine. Once it hits the end, it should be just at that 0 point, and then you can just pull back from there. And we're back at 0, and just bring it back there. You can put in, if you are running an indicator, you can put that indicator back on. Bring that bellows back on. With the power back on, you can just check that it's all back together. In saying that, because you do have the bellows after you run your shot, normally you won't get much coffee in there. And that's a quick look at the DF64. We are doing a video comparing the DF64 to the Eureka single dose and the Niche Zero, as they are grinders that are commonly compared together, as well as doing a video on the grinder blades specifically, the SSPs, different options of the SSPs, and dialing them in. On that note, I would love to know, do you have any questions on this grinder? Do you have this grinder, or do you have another single dose grinder? Let me know in the comments below. And like always, if this video has brought you value, hit that thumbs up and please subscribe. See you on the next video.